great. Like I watched a few series, but then not as much. But then the experience, like initially it was very traumatizing, but then later on, as in when the story passed ahead, it was nice and it was interesting.
I felt that documentaries about serial killers have been very informative because they could talk about, or rather give insights about what exactly is happening in the brains of the perpetrator, specifically from the serial killer's point of view. Because there have been many documentaries where they have actually interviewed serial killers. So it gives a very unique perspective because talking about it and actually understanding through the person itself are two different things. So that's what I feel, that it's a very good informative way of, looking at the documentary.
I was not interested, but then all of my friends were watching all these things, and they kept like motivating me or putting it in my head that you should watch it, you should watch it, you should watch it. And end of the day, I tried watching it, and then first try was not a great time I went through, but then later on it was good.
Interesting. I have been always interested in crime thrillers and all, and also as for my work, I have always worked with crime cases, so that's automatically, my passion kinds of gel with that.
After watching these shows, it's more like I focus on what is driving that person, because there was a series that I watched on police, and having faced them myself, there were times that rather than realizing or focusing more on why was I getting bullied, I was like, what was driving them? What made them into a bully? My focus was there. See, violence is something that I believe it should affect every human being. But if you're watching dark media, if you're watching documentaries on serial killers, or if you're watching documentaries on violence, I believe there are times when you can figure it out what the next steps, or not exactly next steps, but what the further, at least you can figure out what the person who is doing violence can do in the future. Like, if a person is getting bullied, there are times when if you have watched it something, you can figure it out that what other actions, that what other steps he might take or she might take. So it does affect, but it also helps you, I won't say be more prepared for it, but at least have a better understanding of it.
I won't say that watching dark media is going to, make them commit more crimes, but what happens, it's not one contributing factor. There are lots of these factors which, if they get combined together and are interlinked together, that may lead a person to, commit a crime. Anytime, whenever crime happens, it's not because of one single factor. There are ample of factors that are involved in it. At times I feel that why do we need to portray so much of violence? Okay, especially when we know that we can't handle violence, then why do we need to portray it visually? We can talk about it like auditory or that's a different, but obviously when you visualize violence, it at times becomes very too much to take. So it also depends on how it has been depicted or portrayed.
I think media showing a lot of dark media will impact people. However, I don't know if it's directly impacting because there are still people who either don't care or they are aversive to the media. But for example, in movies like Animal or Kabir Singh, they had a large impact on people of how they should behave and how they are planning to behave. Yeah. I think it is very different. I mean, the perceptions are different. But then movies like Animal or even Kabir Singh, I think I've heard more about Kabir Singh than Animal. And even though we say it's just media, it somewhere has a lot of impact because people start behaving that way. There were news where I've heard news only about males that they started, like let's say boyfriends, they started stalking or they started doing action that was like they thought it was relatable to the movie and it can be used in normal life. So we have as an audience have grown more insensitive to violence. So either we can say we don't care or we can say we don't care and we are still doing it. Yes, companies should be very careful about what they are portraying, what they are showing, because even if we say that okay, we have matured enough to not be affected by the media or the people around us or the actions around us, we are very much affected. It shows, I think, later on. Portraying dark media.
Okay, so some of the things that I do immediately is like I want to tell my friends about it, I want to share it, and it's just an urge to share it, which probably is to relieve the anxiety that I feel when I've consumed this type of media. The second thing is that I feel afraid, like especially at night, like if you see a horror movie or like something scary like that, you feel afraid to sleep at night. Another maybe like side effect of watching dark media is that I've started applying it to everyday situations and everyday life. So if someone is talking to me in a suspicious way or something out of the ordinary happens, I start almost like fantasizing about, okay, XYZ might happen to me, I need to be careful and all that. Which is not really accurate because whatever I have consumed, the dark media is only 1% of the population has experienced that. It's not something that you would find in everyday life, but after consuming this media, I feel like it can happen to anybody, and more like most likely me. You know, I feel like I am at a higher likelihood of being a victim of such heinous crimes after consuming dark media. So this is something that's more of like a debate, because on one hand we do want to protect the audience and the viewers from this harmful and disturbing material, but on the other hand we should also respect their freedom of expression and their willingness to share. And most of these dark medias are done by people that were involved and those that were affected by it, not really by the perpetrator themselves. So yeah, so it's at a crossroads of whether or not we should have stricter rules regarding this type of media or not.
you think. So obviously after watching dark media, a lot of things seems to be like very suspicious. But then advice, don't watch.
Firstly, they'll have to be little aware about their own self that these things are not affecting them. So that self-awareness and understanding what things affect us will help them, because otherwise if they don't realize these things, sometimes start making you more suspicious, thinking about. So there are ample of effects that these things do play when we are talking about impact. So overall, a person's self-awareness level and their emotional regulation, control on their emotions, how they manage, all these things would matter a lot. So that's what they have to keep at hand.